Good day, everyone. I'm Steven Rosario from BSc SS3B, and I am the reporter for the Globalization and Multiculturalism. Globalization takes place from its innovation across the world, while multiculturalism is the combination of divergent cultures from people. And now, let's start the formal discussion in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Globalization can be defined as a process of rapid economic, cultural, and institutional integration among countries. This unification is driven by the liberalization of trade, investment, and capital flow, technological advances, and pressures for assimilation towards international standards, and globalization makes the world more accessible to everyone. Dahil sa umuusbong na globalisasyon ay nagkakaroon ng inobasyon sa mga materials, produkto, at iba pang bagay-bagay. And we have types of globalization. Number 1, economic. Number 2, social. And number 3, political. When we say economic, countries that trade with many others and have few trade barriers are economically globalized. Nagkakaroon ng globalisasyon sa economic dahil sa pag-usbong ng mga teknolohiya outside and inside our country. And number 2, social. A measure of how easily information and ideas pass between people in their own country and between different countries includes access to internet and social media networks. Because of communication, ay nakakaroon tayo ng madali ang solusyon kung paano nga ba natin maitatawid ng mas maaga, mas madali ang ating mga mensahe sa isang araw o sa maikling panahon. And then number 3, the political. It is the amount of political cooperation there is between countries. Because of political, nagkakaroon tayo ng strong connection. Halimbawa na lang, UNESCO, World Health Organization, at iba pang sangay ng pamahalaan. And we have causes of globalization. And these are trade liberalization. Number 2, improvements and technology. Number 3, reduce cost or improvement of communications and transportation. And number 4, the relegation of financial markets. And number 5, increased significance of TNCs or transnational corporations. When we say trade liberalization, it refers to a reduction of trade barriers. This will open up worldwide markets. And improvements in technology makes it easier to communicate and share information around the world. The most important development in the recent year is the internet. And number 3, reduce cost and improvement of communications and transportation. Fall in the real cost of transporting goods has allowed cheaper importation and exportation of goods. Decline in the cost of communication has also helped this. Dahil na rin sa makabagong teknolohiya, ay napapabilis at napapadali ang pagtatransport ng mga goods through import and export. And we have the regulation of financial markets. There have been moves towards removing restrictions on the movement of financial capital between countries. Many countries have removed capital controls, made it easier for firms to operate globally. And we have increased significance of TNCs after the Second World War, where economic power was shifted to a corporation's accelerated growth. TNCs have grown even further due to favorable corporation tax rates in many countries and tax breaks as TNCs supposedly bring in more jobs. And now we have the effects of globalization. Number 1, globalization has led to increase in competition. Number 2, globalization causes exchange of technology. Number 3, globalization helps in knowledge and information transfer across the globe. Number 4, globalization has led to increase in investment levels and rise in opportunities. Number 5, globalization has led to vast multinational and multicultural management. And number 6, globalization leads to procurement and outsourcing. And we have the advantages of globalization. Number 1, cheaper goods for consumers, and better product quality. Increased competitiveness may also lead to decline in the price of goods, improvements in the quality of goods and choice of goods. Number 2, increase in skilled workers. Increased international labor mobility has led to an increase in skilled workers. Number 3, lower costs of production. For example, Nike shoes are made in Vietnam due to the lower cost of production, but when we sell it, it has a higher price. Further, number 4, cultural diversity. Increased movement of labor leads to an increase in the spread of different cultural ideas. Diversity is the combination of different things, different aspects, and different preferences. Number 6, we have the poverty reduction. The GDP of the developing countries has increased twice as much as before because of globalization. And number 7, transportation. Globalization has led to tremendous increase in transport services across the globe. And we have the disadvantages of globalization. Number 1, increase in commodity price. Prices then and now have increased tremendously. Number 2, exploitation of cheap labor. Workers working day and night to produce goods for very little money because of existing globalization and time management. Number 3, causes of diseases. It is the cause of very serious health problems all over the globe. Number 4, increase relative poverty and equality. We have everything by globalization, we have nothing by globalization. Number 5, replacing increased vulnerability and instability. The international coffee chains are causing a serious threat to local coffee shops. And number 6, disparity. The economic system that has generated tremendous wealth disparity that really seems unfair. Number 7, uneven wealth distribution. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The local players suffer huge losses as they lack the potential to advertise to or export their products on a large scale. Therefore, our domestic markets shrink. People are ready to shell out extra money for a product that may be available at a lower price. And now we have the conclusion. Number 1, globalization is the key factor for international business. Number 2, globalization grants access to benefit from the international division of labor, technologies, international specialization, intercultural exchange, and the consumers enjoy a wider variety of products at lower prices. Number 3, with globalization, there comes a higher level of thinking and strategizing. Business evolves in new ways. Another topic is the multiculturalism. It is a descriptive term, refers to a cultural diversity where two or more groups with distinctive beliefs, cultures exist in a society. It can also refer to a government policy as a formal recognition of the cultural distinctiveness of particular groups. Sa madaling sabi ay, ang multiculturalism ay ang pagkakaroon ng maraming kultura na magkakasamang magkatulad sa pisikal, geographical o lipunan. Saklaw nito ang lahat ng mga magkakaiba na nakaprame sa loob ng kultura, maging relihiyoso, lingwistiko, lahi o kasarian. Ang multiculturalism ay isang prinsipyo na kinikilala ang pagkakaiba ng kultura na umiiral sa lahat ng mga lugar at nagtataguyod ng karapatan sa pagkakaiba. And here are the key tenets to understand more the concept of multiculturalism. Number 1 is the post-colonialism. Post-colonialism sought to challenge the cultural dimensions of imperial rule by establishing the legitimacy of non-Western political ideas and traditions. It is a challenge of Eurocentrism, which is the application of cultural values and theories drawn from European culture to other groups. Number 2 is the identity. Multiculturalism is a form of identity politics to advance the interests of particular groups in the face of perceived or actual injustice. It seeks to raise awareness by stressing a collective identity and common experience. It is communitarian. People cannot be understood outside of society and are shaped by social and cultural contexts to which they belong. Number 3, minority rights. Minority or multicultural rights are separate from liberal view on rights because they belong to the group rather than an individual. Hence, multiculturalism is essentially collective and communitarian. While seeking to treat cultural groups as equal in their entitlement to recognition, multiculturalism is prepared to grant preferential rights to specific groups as a way of redressing past wrongs via positive discrimination. Number 4, diversity. Multiculturalists believe that cultural diversity is compatible with political cohesion. People have multiple identities and therefore loyalties. People are able to participate in society because they have a firm and secure identity rooted in their own culture. Denial of culture results in isolation and powerlessness, providing a breeding ground for extremism. Diversity should be celebrated. It fosters across cultural tolerance and understanding. Number 5. Why is multiculturalism compatible with liberalism? Simply because it coincides with liberal commitment to toleration and a desire to uphold freedom of choice. Liberalism is a neutral to the moral and cultural choices citizens make. Liberalism is difference blind cultural difference is irrelevant because all people should be regarded as morally autonomous individuals. Number 6. What are the limits to liberal multiculturalism? Number 1 limits is the toleration. It is extended only to views and practices compatible with personal freedom and autonomy. Number 2. In drawing a distinction between the public and private sphere, liberals accept everyone to share a consensus civic allegiance leading to ban on hijab in France or all forms of overt religious affiliation in French school. Number 3. Liberals regard liberal democracy as the sole legitimate political system as it ensures that government is based on the consent of the people. Therefore, liberals would oppose calls for adoption of Sharia's law. Another key tenet was the particularist multiculturalism. Isaiah Berdin went beyond liberal multiculturalism by endorsing value pluralism. This is the theory that there is no single overriding conception of the good life. Cultural diversity takes place within a context of unequal power in which certain groups have advantages denied to other groups. Particularist multiculturalism is therefore aligned to the needs and interests of marginalized groups. Number 8. Cosmopolitan multiculturalism. Cosmopolitan multiculturalists endorse a cultural diversity and identity politics. It emphasizes cultural exchange and what each culture can learn from each other. Number 9. Why do conservatives fear oppose multiculturalism? Shared values and beliefs are seen by conservatives as necessary precondition for a stable and successful society. Conservatives press for assimilation in which the immigrant communities lost their cultural distinctiveness by adjusting to the values, allegiances, and lifestyle of the host society. Number 10. Feminists and multiculturalism. Feminists are concerned when minority rights and politics of recognition serve to preserve and legitimize patriarchal and traditional beliefs that disadvantage women. Number 11. Social reformists and multiculturalism. Multiculturalism encourages groups to seek advantages or advancement through cultural or ethnic assertiveness rather than via struggle for social justice. Multiculturalism therefore fails to address issues of class inequality and lack of economic power and social status. And that's end my report about globalization and multiculturalism. Thank you for listening.